Hello, welcome everyone to our VPK Provider Improvement Process and Improvement Plan Development Informational Session. We're going to just give the rest of the participants a few minutes to join, so we'll be starting in a few minutes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Okay, we're going to get started. As I said a few minutes earlier, welcome to our VPK and Provider Improvement Process and Improvement Plan Development Informational Session. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tiffany Bernard. I'm a Quality and Education Manager, and I'm here today to present this informational session with my VPK Quality and Education Coaching Specialist. So we hope that you're able to get some great information from the webinar. And just to let you know, this is an informational session for providers on probation. So that means that you want to attend this webinar because you want assistance with understanding the improvement plan process and how to develop your improvement plan. This is not going to be for in-service hours or for any other provider that is not on an improvement plan. So a little webinar housekeeping for you. You are going to click on the orange triangle with the white arrow pointing right to use your panel. It's either going to be on the right or left side of your screen, as you can see there with that little purple arrow pointing to it. You're going to click on the questions triangle that's shown below on the panel to type in any questions or comments that you may have throughout the training. To download the handouts, and we do have 5 handouts for you, you're going to click on the handouts triangle that's shown below on the panel. To open any document, you're going to click on each document in the handout section. You're going to click on that document. A PDF is going to open. It's going to be, it's going to allow you to click on that down arrow to download the document to your computer. If you are not able to download any of the handouts, please email me and let me know. My contact information will be shown at the end of the presentation. Okay. So now here's some information about Florida's VPK accountability rule. So basically, we do have a lot of new providers that it's their first year on probation. So a provider is going to remain on probation until it meets the minimum rate of 60. If you fall below 60, then that means that you will be on an improvement plan. Any VPK provider which fails to meet the minimum kindergarten readiness rate of 60 for a program type, either school year or summer, are placed on first year probation, which a majority of you are. These providers are required to submit and implement an approved improvement plan designed to improve the provider's kindergarten readiness rate. Now, something important to note, there will not be a new readiness rate for 2019-2020. Due to COVID, we all know that unfortunately, none of our VPK students were able to complete assessment period 3. OEL had suspended all child assessment. So due to that, obviously, we will not have a new readiness rate. So you will maintain your rate for the 2019-2020 program year. Okay. So now, why do you have an improvement plan? What is the purpose of this improvement plan? It's not used as something that you can check off to say you did it because it's required. We know that OEL is requiring that you complete this plan. But really, when you're thinking about the development of your plan, think about being intentional. You're going to use that plan to guide and improve your practice as a VPK provider. Yes, you're placed on this improvement plan, but now think about the different ways that you can use these different target areas to improve your practice, to think about lesson planning, to think about those observations that you can conduct on your staff and give them that feedback. That's where the intentionality comes into play. You're going to plan, you're going to use this as a guide, and you're going to really let this help you improve your practice. So now we wanted to have a little poll so we can gauge where you are in the improvement plan process. So have you not started yet? Have you started but you need assistance? Were you disapproved and you want to know why? Or have you already been approved? So now I'm going to launch the poll. Okay. So I see we have our participants voting. Thank you so much. I'm seeing the percentages come in. So far, it looks like it's neck and neck with the started but need assistance and the already approved. We're going to keep voting. We have 63% voted so far, so I'll give it another minute before I close the poll. Okay, we have 72% voted. We'll give it one more minute. We're at 75%. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now, and if you were not able to vote, then please put your responses in the chat box, or in the questions box, rather. Okay. So it looks like we have 16% that haven't started yet, but that's okay. That's what this informational session, is designed for, to help you learn, what it is that you need to do. 43% started but need assistance. Once again, that's what you're here for. 8% were disapproved and want to know why. Well, we're going to talk about that, why improvement plans get rejected. And 33% were already approved. Great, it's wonderful that you were approved, and now you can, hear what those next steps are after your plan has been approved. Thank you all for voting. So it lets us know where you are in the process. So now, what's required for the VPK provider improvement process? So provider on probation are required to, so year one, you're going to submit an improvement plan for approval by the ELC, and you're going to implement the plan. You're going to select 2 target areas for improvement. The first target area is mandatory. That means that you can either purchase and implement a DOE-approved curriculum, which we are going to share with you, the list of the curriculums, or complete a DOE-approved staff development plan, which we are going to review in detail for you. Providers must complete all steps of the improvement process electronically on the Readiness Rate website. There's the website there, and we're also going to list it further in the presentation when we explore what that Readiness Rate website actually looks like. Year 2, you're going to remain on probation and submit a VPK Education Program Annual Probation Progress Report. That means that you're going to describe progress on your target areas in the comments section or select new target areas. So that's important to note. So if you're a year 2, you can either decide to just describe, your progress on implementing those target areas that you selected, or you might decide that you actually want to choose 2 new target areas. So if that's the case and you want to learn some more information about exploring the different target areas, this is the perfect webinar for you to attend, because you'll get to hear some more information about those other target areas. And then year 3, you're going to apply for, and you have to be granted, a good cause exemption, or you're going to be removed from the VPK program for 5 years. So this is really important. Year 3s, I know you've already, applied for those good cause exemptions. Some of you have received them. Some of you are still waiting. So please just follow up with OEL if you haven't received your good cause exemption already. So you're going to update your improvement plan. You're going to describe your progress on the target areas in the comments section, or just like year 2, you can decide to select new target areas as well. So just like I mentioned on the previous slide, your 2 target areas, your 2 choices for target area 1 are to pick a developmentally appropriate curriculum or staff development plan. So in one of your handouts, you do have a list of all of the VPK developmentally appropriate curriculums, as well as the school readiness approved curriculums as well. So when you're choosing a VPK curriculum, just make sure that it's also one of the school readiness curriculums as well. That way you don't have to worry about purchasing 2 completely new curriculums. So just be aware of that. Be mindful that you are picking a VPK curriculum that is also on the approved school readiness curriculum as well. And like I mentioned before, we do have in the handout section both the VPK approved curriculums as well as the SR curriculums. Now for staff development plan, you are required to complete the 6 DOE courses. You're required to conduct observations on your VPK staff. You're required to have meetings with those VPK staff and to provide opportunities for professional development, which we will delve deeper into during this presentation. So now we're going to talk about target area 1, developmentally appropriate curriculums. So first things first, you want to make sure that you have the current year and version required. So this is the list, and like I said, it is one of the handouts in the handout section for you. So as you can see, you do have a selection. There are a few here that say proprietary, for example, Empowered Child, Early Innovators Curriculum, Life Smart, and Balanced Learning. Those are specific to certain centers and cannot be purchased by other providers. That, for example, Empowered Child is specific to Child Time Learning Centers. So Balanced Learning, specific to Primrose Schools. Life Smart, specific to Tutor Time. All of the other curriculums are available for purchase. So basically, when choosing a curriculum, I would say just look on the OEL website. You can click on that curriculum and it gives you more information about that curriculum. I would say just if you're still considering what curriculum to purchase, look at that curriculum, see if it's going to meet all of your needs for that center. Look and see if the link that it has to the standards, because that's very important, and that'll help you make your decision when deciding which curriculum to purchase. Okay. Staff Development Plan, your second option for Target Area 1. So this, the link we have here is where you could go to get all of the documents for the Staff Development Plan. They are included in the handout section as well. So we do have that to share with you. You are required to complete 4 trainings before your plan can be approved. Now, this is important to note that not only the VPK instructors, but also the program director and VPK assistant teachers need to complete these 4 courses. You have to show proof that the staff have already taken these courses. So that would mean sending your transcripts to your provider relations specialist. Okay, so the 4 courses that you would need to take are implementing the Florida standards in preschool classrooms, 3 years old to kindergarten. Now it says implementing the standards, Florida 3 years old to kindergarten, but if you have taken a previous standards course, like for example, the 4-year-old standards, that is completely fine. Emergent literacy for VPK instructors, language and vocabulary in the VPK classroom, and how to administer the VPK assessment. If you notice in the available formats column, it says instructor-led or online. Obviously, due to COVID, all of these are online. You do not have to worry about a course saying instructor-led. They are not offering any instructor-led courses at this time. So any course that you take with DCF is going to be online. So now, the other 2 courses are required before 50% of the VPK instructional hours have been completed. Those 2 courses are integrating the standards, phonological awareness, and VPK assessment instructional implications. As I mentioned before, both of these will be taken online. Now, one thing to note is you do not have to retake these courses. If you have already taken these courses or your staff has taken these courses, you would just put the date that those courses have been completed. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like further along in the presentation. If you would choose, if you want, you can go on to the DCF website and look in your and explore the training again if you have taken it online. That does not mean that you will be given a new date of completion. You'll still have the same date, but just as a refresher of the content, if that's something that you're interested in, you can review the course as well, just for the content. So now the required staff development activities. Each provider must obtain a copy and or print the standards for 4 years old. So we will show you later on in the presentation where you can access the standards for either downloading and printing or for purchasing. And this is what the standards looks like to the right, the 4-year-old standards to kindergarten. You're going to use the standards in lesson planning to guide your instruction, and you're going to pay close attention in particular to language development and phonological awareness. And we will show you where you can access some of those language development and phonological awareness activity plans. You're going to use and print out those activity plans that I just mentioned. They have them on the OEL website and the Florida Center for Reading Research, VPK Learning Center activities related to language development and phonological awareness. These activity plans or learning center activities are going to be printed and used in those classrooms to really promote that language development and phonological awareness. Okay. So now, what forms do you use to conduct your observations, to provide feedback, and to review your assessment results? These forms are called exhibits, and we're going to discuss now Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and Exhibit C. So this is what Exhibit A looks like. It's the staff observation template. So the site director or supervisor is going to observe the VPK class staff twice a month to see if they are incorporating the information gained through staff development. So your first observation that you're going to conduct is going to be on language development. So as you can see in the column on the left, it's interactions and instructional strategies. So basically what you're going to be doing during your observation is looking to see if that instructor is engaging in individual conversations with children. You're going to look and see, was this observed? If it's yes, you're going to check the yes box and then describe that interaction or that instructional strategy that you noticed. If it's no, then you would click no, and you know that that's something that you would need to address with that instructor during that meeting that you have with that teacher as a follow-up. You're going to look to see if that instructor is going to facilitate the small group interactions, focusing on building that vocabulary in the classroom. Once again, checking yes if it was observed and no if it's not, knowing that that's going to be another area of focus to discuss with that teacher if no was checked. And then you're going to look to see if that instructor is engaging in interactions that build on children's prior knowledge and interests. And if that teacher is building on that prior knowledge, you're going to check yes. If you don't observe this, checking no. And once again, knowing that this is something to address with that teacher to improve on his or her practice. So as a part of language observation, there's also different instructional strategies like language scaffolding, book embedded vocabulary instruction, dialogic reading, and think, show, tell, and talk. It describes right under each of those areas, it describes a little bit about what that entails. So OEL, VPK regional facilitators do facilitate trainings on each of these language and vocabulary areas. Unfortunately, these trainings are not available online as of yet. They were only available as instructor-led. I don't know if or when they will be available online, but that is something that we can definitely reach out to discuss with our VPK regional facilitators to see if they could provide some resources into each of these areas. And we are going to discuss a little bit about what the VPK regional facilitators are offering a little bit later on in the presentation. Okay. For your second observation during the month, you're going to be focusing on phonological awareness. So you're going to be looking once again at those interactions and those instructional strategies. How is that teacher using small groups to focus on phonological awareness skills? How are those interactions in the classroom? Are they engaging? Are they fun? What do they look like? How are they promoting phonological awareness? How is that instructor teaching phonological awareness skills using different materials or strategies that don't have letters or words? Because remember, with phonological awareness, you aren't using letters or words. You're just using those pictures or those sounds. And then, how is that instructor following the developmental progression when teaching phonological awareness skills? Because there is a progression when teaching it. How is that teacher practicing blending words, syllables, and phonemes? So you're going to look and see, was this observed? Then in the column on the right, describing what you observed. If it wasn't observed, Once again, this is an area of focus when you're having that conversation, that follow-up conversation with that teacher about that observation, what you noticed, what you didn't observe, and then what that teacher can work on and exhibit for that next observation the following month. Okay. So now for Exhibit B, that's going to be your monthly feedback template. This is what you're going to use to discuss those observations with your VPK staff. So you're going to meet monthly. Remember, with Exhibit A, it was biweekly, so you're meeting twice a month. With Exhibit B, you're going to meet monthly with those with that teaching staff to provide the individualized feedback, to reflect, to discuss next steps, and to record your meeting notes. So it's going to be about topics covered in your staff development plan. You can talk about the phonological awareness that we mentioned, the observation that you conducted, the language and development, instructional strategies for these areas, but also you can use this if you noticed other areas as well. During that observation, you can use this form to comment on what you noticed during those observations. So Exhibit C, this is the assessment results meeting template. You are going to use this form to discuss the VPK assessment results with your VPK staff. So the timeline, within 30 days of administering the VPK assessment for each required assessment period. That's AP1. AP2 was never required before with VPK providers, but all VPK providers on probation must complete AP2 as well. And of course, AP3. So with the documentation, you're going to have a calendar that's going to indicate when you're holding these meetings. You're going to print those child and classroom level reports from the Bright Beginnings website for the appropriate assessment period. If it's AP1, you're going to print AP1 and so forth. And then lesson plans that reflect next steps for teaching based on the class's VPK assessment data. So when you have these discussions, you're going to talk about who's meeting expectations, who's exceeding expectations, and then pay close attention to those students who are falling below expectations, and then make plans for next steps with those students. See what you can incorporate into the lesson plan to help those students meet those expectations. And then that also helps if you put these strategies in place and your students are still having difficulty, what else do you need to do to help those students? So now we are going to talk about what to include in an improvement plan binder. So we typically would talk about a staff development binder, but we decided to really call it an improvement plan binder because you don't just have to have your what's required for the staff development plan, but it's also a good idea to incorporate your other target areas as well. And as we go through this binder, you'll be able to see all of the different components in an improvement plan binder and what you really should include. So this binder is going to allow you to keep record of all staff observations, monthly feedback meetings, and VPK assessment result meetings. So these are all the items that you can include. First, you're going to want to print your improvement plan and have that in the binder so you can refer to it when needed. You're going to have any observations that you've conducted, and those would be those Exhibit A forms, those staff observation forms. You're going to have your meeting notes in that binder. That's going to be using that Exhibit B form, the monthly feedback forms, and Exhibit C, those VPK assessment result meeting forms. And you're also going to want to include the printed copies of those VPK assessment reports. You're going to include professional development, so the DCF child training transcripts of all those required trainings. You can have in there a list of upcoming DCF trainings so that you know when they're having other trainings that your staff could attend. You're going to have a calendar of the ELC VPK trainings, and I'm going to show you what that calendar would look like. You're going to have lesson plans that are ready to review, and you can also have sample lesson plans there as well. And then the part that's going to be for any other target area that you've selected, you're going to have evidence of how activities are being implemented. So now we're going to take you through a sample improvement plan binder. So this is what your binder would look like if you had a printed version. Okay, so here we have your improvement plan. Like I mentioned before, you're going to print that out and have that first in your binder. Okay. Then you're going to have an observations tab. And in this observation tab, you're going to include all of those staff observations that you've conducted. As you can see here, the first is on language development. And the administrator wrote what was observed. All three things were observed, wonderful, and all of those notes. So that the more detailed you are, the easier it is for you to have that conversation, with the VPK staff when you're having that meeting regarding those observations that you've conducted. Okay. And then it's a great idea to write that activity that you observed. For example, this one was brainstorming. And then you look at the language scaffolding. This was observed, and you're going to write your notes on what was conducted. Your book embedded vocabulary instruction. This was observed too. How did that teacher embed vocabulary in that book reading? Dialogic reading. This was observed. You're going to write your notes. Think, show, tell, and talk. You can read that strategy and then write your notes on that as well. So, phonological awareness. As you can see here, there's one yes and there's 3 no's. So obviously then during that meeting that you have once a month with that teacher, when you're noticing those no's, that's an area of focus. Talk to that teacher about not observing small groups focused on the phonological awareness skills, and then talk about, okay, how can I help you? How can I support you so that you're able to have these interactions and instructional strategies in place in your classroom? Okay. So now the next tab you would have would be your meetings. The first one would be Exhibit B, monthly feedback template. So this is where you're going to discuss the VPK results. So you're going to look at, for example, interactions and strategies to reflect upon. Vocabulary and language, mathematics. Many connections were made. Connections were made with vocabulary and language. How the teacher was surprised about those connections. So you're going to talk about then planning for future goals and future growth so that you know what next steps are you going to make for those children in the classroom. And then you're going to talk about the process, what went well, what the next focus should be, what does the teacher need to support for supporting their growth, resources, to provide the teacher with resources, to maybe review the standards again and apply, those standards to those lessons in the classroom. Okay. And as I mentioned before, having those reports printed is really necessary so the teacher can see exactly where those children are falling, who's meeting expectations, who's exceeding expectations, and really who's falling below expectations. So really that focus could be on assisting those children and supporting them. Okay. Professional development, printing those transcripts and having them ready to see what those teachers still need to take. Having the schedule for online trainings for preschool educators printed so that the teachers know what other options they have for professional development through the DCF website. Now, we have instructor-led trainings here too, because that's always been included in the binder. As we know, there are not going to be any instructor-led trainings, for right now, but it's a good idea to have that there as well, so that they know when those trainings will be offered. And then this is our training calendar for June. So these are the different VPK or pre-K webinars that have been facilitated. We also have an ASQ one on here that the inclusion team did as well. Since everyone does conduct ASQs on their children, it is a good idea to attend those webinars as well. But you can see here that we have a lot of VPK webinars that contain wonderful information for VPK directors as well as VPK teachers. And all trainings do appear on our website calendar. So if you click on the website and go to the calendar, you will see all of our trainings. Now, if you have not had a chance to attend any of our VPK trainings, if you do go on our website, a lot of our trainings have been recorded. So we've had several VPK trainings that would be beneficial for you to hear. So it would be great if you can take advantage of that and go on the website and listen to those recordings. So now here is the sample activity plan from OEL's website on language development. This is what it looks like. It has the objective, targeted standards, the procedures, any materials you need, how to check for understanding, how to scaffold children's learning, and how to provide extensions. So this is where you would find them on this link here. And when you would go, and I'm going to actually show you how to access that further along in the presentation. But they're designed to help develop the skills that 4-year-old children should know and be able to do by the end of their pre-kindergarten year. And they're all based on the standards. So for the purpose of your improvement plan, we're looking specifically at language and vocabulary lesson plans, as well as phonological awareness activity plans, but the activity plans do have a lot of great options as well. So you'll be able to see math activity plans. You'll be able to see science activity plans. So if you go on the website, you'll be able to, take a look and see other activity plans that could be beneficial to use. But the only ones that we're requiring are the language and vocabulary activity plans and phonological and awareness. This is a sample activity plan from the Florida Center for Reading Research. And as you can see, this one is on phonological awareness. It's looking at rhyme memory match. So it has the objectives, the materials, the activity, and any adaptations you need to make, and extensions as well. And then this is where you would find those activity plans. You would go to the Florida Center for Reading Research, and then there is the link below. And we do have in the handout section helpful websites, and all of these links are included in that list for you. So these are sample VPK Learning Center activities. They have, for Book 1, Print Knowledge Learning Center activities. They have Book 2, which would be Phonological Awareness Learning Center activities. They have Book 3, which would be Oral Language and Vocabulary. They even have a teacher resource guide to help you when exploring these different activities. And they have a professional development video as well for you to view. And then this is just a sample VPK lesson plan. It has the different activities and then the standards that are being addressed with each of those activities. Okay, now this would be evidence of how activities are being implemented for your second target area. So the first half of your binder, if you chose staff development plan, would be geared towards having evidence of you implementing the staff development plan. So the second half of your binder could be different activities from your second target area. So for example, if you chose family involvement, you could have samples of newsletters that you send to your families, or you could have sample agendas from an orientation that you had for families. So different evidence of how those activities are being implemented. Now, this really is important, especially when providers are on year 3 or more, and they have to apply for their good cause exemption, because with the good cause exemption, they ask you to be very detailed in that application. They ask you to put dates that you've done things, to have descriptive activities there. So now you would, if you have this evidence in your binder, you're able to go refer to that binder, look and see when you completed those activities, and be able to describe exactly how those activities were implemented and the dates those activities took place. So that's why it's good to keep a record of all of the different wonderful things that you're doing in your center. Okay. So now we're going to talk about what will work for my VPK program. What am I doing right now? So think about what you're currently doing and think about what should I try? What are some new things that you can add to your program? So now we have Gretel and Stephanie that are going to discuss the additional target areas. They're going to talk specifically about target area 2.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie, and I'm happy to be here today in this webinar with you all. I think it's great that it has so much information to help you with your improvement plans. So you can see here, you'll need to choose a second target area number 2. And in your improvement plan, you'll need to have evidence as Tiffany described. And as you can see on the screen here, there are 7 choices that Gretel and I will be reviewing. We have administrative and management practices. We have classroom learning environments. You could choose classroom instructional practices. You could choose working on child developmental screenings and assessments. We also have a choice of social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and their students, family involvement in the early childhood program, and you can also choose curriculum and or staff development plan if you did not choose it as target area number 1. So now we will first start with administrative and management practices with Gretel.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Tiffany, for all that great information. As you can see here, that first target area is called Administrative and Management Practices, Program Management. So this is the effective implementation of policies, procedures, and systems that support strong program management, including stable personnel, fiscal soundness, program accountability, record keeping, professional development, and continuous program involvement. So this has everything to do with how the director or the program or the owner of the school is implementing practices to help improve the VPK program. So how can you show this? What examples or evidence can you add in your binder for this? It could be, for example, updated policies, either policies for parents or policies for the staff, or updated procedure. It could also be a staff orientation, even that first family orientation. You can have the agenda and the sign-in of those meetings, or any professional development plans that you yourself created for the staff. You could use that as evidence as well. The second one is called Classroom Learning Environment, and this has everything to do with the layout and the classroom itself. So is the classroom a safe and helpful environment that provides appropriate, well-maintained, organized, and accessible indoor and outdoor physical environments? And this includes everything. It includes the facility, the equipment, the materials, and do they help facilitate children's and staff's learning development? So the way to show evidence of this is you can have health and safety checklists that are either done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or even on a monthly basis. An effective room arrangement strategy. A good way to show this is you would take maybe a before picture of the classroom and then do the arrangement that is going to benefit the classroom and the children and the teacher better, and then take the after pictures, and you can have that as evidence. You can purchase developmentally appropriate material and equipment, or create or make it from recyclable goods, and you can have pictures of this, or the teacher can document it through a note. Organized and accessible materials, or you can even use the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale. This is a guide that can help you to rearrange your classroom. The next option that you have for target 2 is called Classroom Instructional Practices. This is the use of developmentally, culturally, and linguistically appropriate and effective teaching approaches that enhance each child's learning and development in the context of the program's curriculum goals. So this one is actually a very good target area to link if you chose developmentally appropriate curriculum. It would target more of the practice in the classroom and the approach of what is being taught in the classroom. The teaching practices should include a variety of approaches that range from structured to unstructured activities, and from adult-directed to child-directed. So examples of this is, for example, a staff orientation program, a staff-to-staff mentoring program. That's also very good. You can have a a veteran VPK teacher, mentor, or maybe a newly added VPK teacher, professional development opportunities for all staff regarding classroom instructional practices. And as Tiffany mentioned earlier, there are a lot of VPK trainings that the ELC has offered in the past years that are very beneficial to help in this area. And then you can also even use Exhibit A and B, even if you don't choose staff development, to do the observations and the feedback and to model for the teacher as well. The next one is called Child Developmental Screenings Assessments. So these are the ongoing systematic formal and informal assessment approaches to provide information on an individual children's learning and development. So some of you could be in the school readiness program or are already using TSG. That is, you can run reports and put those in as evidence of ongoing systematic formal assessment. The curriculum that you chose most probably has its own type of screening. You can use that. You can also use AP 1, 2, and 3. You can print the individual children's results and you can have that as evidence. So you also want to provide professional development opportunities for the staff regarding these screenings and assessments. And a selection of appropriate screening and assessment tools. So you want to vet them to make sure that the information that you're getting from them is going to be applicable to the classroom. It's going to help you make decisions going forward. So this is where Exhibit C would come in. Exhibit C is when you sit down with that teacher and you review the assessments with her and then, or with him, and then you make the decisions as how you're going to apply the approach of your teaching practice. And you want to have, these should be ongoing, and evidence, as I said before, are all the reports that you can put there for the individual children. So now Stephanie is going to continue with the final target areas.
Thank you, Gretel. So the next target area is social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. We all know that social emotional interactions support academic success. So we want to ensure that there are positive interactions happening in the classroom. And for this target area especially, I have an additional example from an approved improvement plan, as they chose social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. And now I'm going to read to you exactly what they wrote in a nice description. So they chose ongoing feedback and observations, as well as there is a detailed note explaining how this will be implemented. For example, they said, there will be monthly staff trainings involving social emotional interactions. Observations will occur after the staff trainings and feedback will be given to help VPK staff encourage positive interactions with children. Social emotional materials will be purchased and supplied to the VPK classrooms. So you can see this is a strong example for a description of a target area, and as well as what they chose, you can also have ongoing observations and feedbacks and put those notes into your improvement plan binder, as well as any professional development certifications. So for our next target area we're going to discuss is family involvement. And parents, as we know, are the child's first teacher, and keeping them involved in their school supports positive outcomes. So we really want the family involvement to be another area to consider for your second target area, because we want to ensure that there's collaboration between your families and your center, because that's what's best for the children. And additionally, we want to make sure that we're sensitive to the family's composition, language, and culture. So our classrooms and our activities and our family involvement is culturally sensitive. I also have an example of an approved family plan for enhancing opportunities for parents to participate in the program that I will read to you now, so you get another great example of what we're looking for on the improvement plans. So this center said, we will invite parents throughout the year to help participate in activities, such as reading a story with the class, helping with different cooking activities, and discussing with the class their profession when we have community helper theme of the week. We will have parent-teacher conferences to discuss with the parents how the child is progressing and with what areas need help. Then we will also send daily notes home through the Remind app and/or written notes. So you notice how the providers painted a picture and that we can really see exactly how that second target area will be carried out in family involvement. And as we said at the very beginning of this section of the presentation, you can also choose developmentally appropriate curriculum if you chose staff development plan or vice versa. So there's opportunities for you to also have a new curriculum while giving your staff that professional development that's required in the staff development plan. So now we're going to talk about common reasons why your improvement plan might have been disapproved with Tiffany.
Thank you, Gretel and Stephanie, for explaining those target areas and for providing some specific examples from improvement plans that have already been approved. So some common reasons why improvement plans are disapproved. So if you do not include all active directors, VPK instructors, and VPK assistant teachers on the staff development plan, remember that it has to be any VPK staff. So you need to have your director, you need to have your VPK instructors and your VPK assistant teachers on that staff development plan. If you don't include dates, all active staff have completed the 4 required DOE courses on the staff development plan. So remember the first 4 courses on the staff development plan, and I will show you what those look like when we look at the website. If you do not include the dates that those 4 courses were completed by the director, the VPK instructors, and the VPK assistant teachers, your plan will not be approved. The other 2 courses will be completed before 50% of your program has been completed, and I'm going to show you what that looks like as well, and how you'll have to go back into the plan to update that. And then if you don't include a detailed description of the activity selected for target area 2, so Stephanie gave you 2 examples of some detailed descriptions. The first for social emotional and the second for family involvement. So as you can hear by that description, it was specific, it was detailed, and said exactly how those activities are going to be implemented. That's what we're looking for. And if you select multiple, that means 3 or more target areas. Remember, you only need to select 2 target areas. For target area 1, you're going to select either staff development plan or developmentally appropriate curriculum. And for target area 2, you can select any of the 6. So, or developmentally appropriate curriculum if you selected staff development plan, and vice versa. Okay. So now we're going to explore what the website looks like and what your actual improvement plan looks like as you're going through that creation process. So this is the website that you're going to go to complete all of the improvement process steps electronically. It's vpkrates.floridaearlylearning.com/home. To access the website, you're going to, you see where you have the 2 arrows, you're going to either, you have 2 options, click on the login or secure area login to access your account. Once you've clicked on either login, you're going to enter your provider ID and password. Okay. Once you've logged on to the Readiness Rate website, you're going to select the final Readiness Rate and Improvement Process link. It's the option at the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll see it right there where the arrow is pointing. It's the one with the check. Once you click on that, you'll see that all providers must have an approved improvement plan in place for at least 30 days prior to receiving an advance payment and for at least 30 days prior to offering VPK instruction for the next VPK program. So you're going to select VPK Provider Improvement Plan to begin completing your plan. And you can see where the arrow is facing right there. It's your last option. Now, something to note where you see the status codes, not started, so that means that you have not yet begun to enter the requested information. Saved means that you've begun to enter the information and you saved it, but you haven't clicked submit. So this is really important because sometimes, you'll say, oh, I've completed my improvement plan, but you've actually forgotten to click the submit button. So just make sure that when your plan is complete, that you're clicking that submit button. And submitted means that you've completed all the requested information, you've saved it, you've clicked that submit button. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you open up the VPK improvement plan process. So you're going to complete the information step by step that the improvement plan is requiring. So you're going to enter all that information in those fields. So now, when you go into your improvement plan, self-assessment instrument is optional. You do not have to select this at all, but you are required to select target area 1. So remember, that's developmentally appropriate curriculum or staff development plan. So you can see here that there's a drop-down menu. Once you click select target area, you'll be able to choose for target area 1, either staff development plan or developmentally appropriate practice. Sorry, developmentally appropriate curriculum. So now something to note, if you see here where you see the arrow, what are target areas? If you click on what are target areas, it will give you a description of each of those target areas. We also do have in the handout section those target areas for you as well to use for your reference. So if you select developmentally appropriate curriculum, you can see here that both target areas are listed, but we're going to focus right now on developmentally appropriate curriculum. So you've made your selection, you've chose to have developmentally appropriate curriculum as your target area. What does that look like once you click on developmentally appropriate curriculum? So when you go in, you're going to click add new curriculum. There's going to be a drop-down menu where you can choose one of those curriculums that are VPK approved curriculums. So you are going to add that new curriculum. You're going to see it appear here. You're required to put your projected purchase date. So projected just means when do you think you're going to purchase it? And you're also required to put a projected training completion date. So when do you think you're going to complete training for that curriculum? Keep in mind that purchasing a curriculum also means that you need to be trained on that curriculum as well. So if you decide to implement a different curriculum, say you chose WeLearn, and you decide, you know what, I don't want to do WeLearn, I want to do the Investigator Club. Then you would go in, you would hit delete, and then you can add that new curriculum and you can choose that Investigator Club. Okay. Now, staff development plan. What does that look like on the actual website? So you can see here that you have 4 different areas. If you click on the little box that has the plus sign in it, you'll be able to extend that box and it'll give you a description of exactly what's needed for each of those areas. So I'm going to take you through a few of them now. So for the required staff development trainings and activities. So you want to make sure that all active staff are listed. So that means your VPK program director, your VPK instructors, and your VPK assistant teachers. Now, all of the active VPK staff need to be checked off. You can see here on this one that there are 3 staff that maybe before they were active in the center, but they will not be for this program year. So they are not checked off. Any staff listed on the improvement plan must match the staff you submitted on your VPK application. So keep that in mind when you're doing your improvement plan. Any staff that you're going to list on your VPK application has to be the same as the staff that you're listing in your staff development plan. Okay. So now, when you click on that VPK instructor, VPK director, or VPK assistant teacher, this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to make sure that this is checked for active. Also, if you want to deactivate a teacher that's not in your program right now, you can just click on their name, and then you would check this button and click deactivate. You would click uncheck it so that it doesn't say active. You're going to put in their name. You're going to put in their highest level of education. The hire date is optional, so you don't have to put the hire date if you don't choose to do so. You're going to make sure that these 4 courses are listed. So you would click on the calendar and you would select that date that those courses were completed based on their DCF transcripts. Remember, those 4 courses need to be completed before your plan can be approved. The other 2 courses have to be completed in the first half of the program year. So before 50% of your program has been completed, these 2 need to be added into the staff development plan. Okay. Now, recommended documentation would be, you know that you do need to purchase the standards, and you know that you can either purchase them or you can print and you can download and print them. You're going to go into your plan under required staff development activities, and you are going to put in the date that the staff member purchased and or printed those standards. And it'll say here standards for 4 years old. Know that those are the 4-year-old to kindergarten standards. That's what the actual standards book will say. And you're also going to enter the date sample lesson plans were printed. So remember those lesson plans that we discussed earlier, those activity plans from OEL. When you print those dates, you can put that date there as well. And just make sure whenever you're entering new information that you're clicking that save button so all of your information is saved into your plan. Okay. So now we have recommended staff development trainings. So this is recommended. It's not required, but recommended is what it says. This is really, we're highly encouraging you to attend some of these trainings. So you can enhance your opportunities for success there's different options. There's English language learners in the VPK classroom. It's offered online. Attending phonological awareness and language development sessions. Obviously, we are not going to any conferences at this time, but they do have online ones that you could attend if they're offered as an option. There's other Department of Education developed trainings. There's other VPK regional facilitator developed trainings. There's trainings that we as the Early Learning Coalition have developed and are now webinars. You can attend those trainings. We highly recommend that you do so. There's also meetings that are recommended. So any meetings for providers that are led by either VPK regional facilitators or the ELC, those are recommended for you to attend. You can receive some really beneficial information at those meetings. So we recommend that you attend them. Take part in any available supports that your VPK regional facilitator might give to you. And I do have some to share with you later on in the presentation. Take part in any available supports that we as the ELC are offering to you. And also to just enhance professional growth and development, read those professional journal articles. Talk about, what that article discussed and how it can be applied to the classroom. Those, discuss it as a group. Those are just some suggestions of different staff development and professional development really that you can take advantage of. Okay, so now we're going to talk about target area 2. You're going to select your target area 2 from the list of additional target areas. So once again, there's a drop-down menu, and you can select any one of those other options. If you selected developmentally appropriate curriculum for target area 1, you can select staff development plan if you choose to do so. You don't have to choose that as an option. You have all of these other target areas to select if you would like. So there's administrative and management practices, classroom learning environment, classroom instructional practices, childhood developmental screenings and assessments, family involvement, and social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. So you can choose any one of these options. Okay, so once you've chosen your target area 2, you're going to click on that target area, and that's going to open up to where you see this screen where it's going to talk about that target area. So the first thing you're going to do is, you see where there's an arrow here pointing to activity. You're going to choose an activity to implement. In this example, you see professional development opportunities for all staff. So now, when you think about professional development opportunities for any one of the target areas, it's going to be professional development opportunities related to that target area. So for this, it's classroom instructional practices. So you're going to think about professional development related to classroom instructional practices. So you're going to put your projected completion date. And now the really important part, you're going to put a description of the activity. So Stephanie had given you some examples of some descriptions of activities that were approved. So this one is, for example, we will take professional development courses centered around the VPK standards that are offered on the DCF website as well as by the ELC Education Department. Administration will conduct observations to help the staff implement the strategy suggested in that, and I couldn't take a picture of the rest, but you get the gist of it. Being descriptive, being specific, talking about what professional development opportunities the staff are going to be offered and how, once you've taken those professional development opportunities, how will they be implemented in the classroom. Now, you see here, actual completion date. You do not enter this date until you have completed your target area. So for the projected completion date, you're just choosing, you're choosing a date. You're thinking, when do I think that this activity is going to be finished? When am I going to complete this activity? And when you think about your plan, think about it depending on that activity that you chose. Think about it lasting for the duration of, your program year. So you want to choose a date that's past the midway point, close to the end of the year, but that all really depends on the activity that you're choosing because some activities can be finished beforehand. So then, once again, this is a projected date. You're just putting your projected completion date, but your actual completion date, you're going to go back into your plan once that activity has been completed, and you're going to put in that actual completion date and click Save. And you see here at the bottom right, it says yes, for pending tasks, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, and then this is just an example of another target area. This one is classroom instructional practices. So once again, you're going to add an activity from the drop-down menu. This one is ongoing observation and feedback. You're going to add that projected completion date. You're going to add a detailed description of the activity. This one's social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. So Stephanie, actually, this is one that Stephanie read the description to you. And then once this has been completed, you're going to go back into your plan and add the actual completion date. And just remember to always click Save. Now, once you've selected both target areas 1 and 2, and you entered all the required information, you are ready to submit your improvement plan. Click on the Next button at the top right-hand corner. You're going to be prompted at this time to enter your contact information. So that's going to be your email address. After entering your email address, click Save. Now, when you do that, you're going to notice that the field is going to remain blank. Don't worry, the information has been saved. You don't have to worry about entering that email address again. You're just going to click Save, then you're going to click Next again, and then click Submit. So like I mentioned earlier, what happens is the plan stays in that save status unless you click Submit. So please, after you're done entering all your information into your improvement plan and you feel like it's ready to be submitted, please go ahead and click Next and click Submit. Just a reminder, all improvement plans must be submitted by July 10th. Okay, so that's important to note. July 10th, they all have to be submitted. So now, once your improvement plan has been submitted, when you look, you'll see VPK improvement plan, you'll see that submitted, and it'll have the date that it was submitted. So VPK provider improvement pending tasks. What are pending tasks? Why do you have a red yes next to your target area? So now we're going to go into what those pending tasks mean. So for this here, you can see there's pending tasks for developmentally appropriate curriculum and social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. So it's pending because for developmentally appropriate curriculum, you have to go back in and add the actual curriculum purchase and training dates. So this cannot be added until after your plan has been approved. So once your plan has been approved and you've purchased your curriculum, you're going to come in, you're going to click on your developmentally appropriate curriculum. You're going to enter that actual purchase date and that actual training date, completion date. Once you do that, it'll change from, the pending task will change from a red yes to a green no. So just remember, after your plan has been approved, you can come in, you can add that actual purchase date and add that actual training date to your plan. And don't forget to click save. Now, it's the same thing with any target area you choose for your second target area. So this one is social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. You need to include the actual completion date of the selected activity. So remember, after that activity has been completed, you're going to go back into your improvement plan and add the actual completion date, click save, and then that pending task will change from a red yes to a green no, because that will mean that there are no more pending tasks. This is another example. This provider had chosen ongoing observation and feedback. So this is just another good description of the activity. Obviously the activity is cut off, so I can't read it, but you'll get the gist of it just by me reading a little bit of it. So blank, this is the name of the center, is participating in a research project in collaboration in FIU. The We Feel curriculum examines the impact of social emotional intelligence on early developmental milestones in young children. In addition, We Feel will examine classroom interactions and so forth. So it talks about how they're using that curriculum to really foster and enhance those positive relationships in the classroom. Okay. So now, other pending tasks. So if you have to complete those 2 remaining courses for staff development plan, you'll see pending tasks as well. So remember that these 2 courses have to be completed before 50% of your program has been completed. If you have new staff, so that means that they've been hired, but they're still responsible for completing these courses. They have within 1 month of hire to complete these 2 courses. Okay. So now, provider resources. So the OEL website does have several provider resources for you, and we have the link right here. And this link is also in the handout section with our helpful websites. So they have different information for you. It has some frequently asked questions. It has the VPK class, which has VPK resources for you. It talks about the VPK provider improvement plan and their professional development and training. Also, you have the standards there and regulations that will be important for you to know. So now, we talked about the standards a lot and how important the standards is to really use as a guide to inform instruction and to really link to lesson planning. So there is a great, on OEL's website, there are a lot of great resources for you, for not only teachers, but for families as well. So here's the link right here. It's www.floeL.org/standards-resource/again. And you can see here that they have all of the domains of the standards. So they have physical development, approaches to learning, social emotional development, and so forth. So to explore the standards, what you want to do is to select a domain and age group that you would like to view from the option listed. So for the example, we just chose language and literacy. So that once you click on it, it highlights. And obviously, since we're talking about VPK, you're going to check 4 years old to kindergarten. That's 48 months to kindergarten. But obviously, for the rest of your center, to learn more about the standards, you can click on any age group, and it gives you the same information regarding the standards, which is really great information for your other teachers to explore as well. So, excuse me. So now, once you have clicked on your domain, you're going to select any component that you would like to learn more information about. So for example, I've clicked on listening and understanding. So once you click on listening and understanding, it expands and then it shows you all of the different benchmarks. So it lets you know exactly what's expected for listening and understanding. If you click on room, then that's going to expand to let you know what children may do, what educators may do, and families may do. So it kind of gives you these helpful hints and tips of what to expect. So what can children do? And you as educators, what can you do to assist those children with those benchmarks? And then even what can I tell my families that they can also work on with their children as well? So this is a great resource for you to be able to use not only, you know, with the children in your classroom, but to give to families as well. So how do you access the standards? So you can access the standards in 2 ways. You can either use the following link to download and print the standards. And once you do that, this is going to pop up. You're going to click on Educator's Guide to Understanding the Florida Early Learning and Developmental Standards, 4 years old to kindergarten. You're going to click on that and a PDF will open that you'll be able to download and print. If you would like to order printed copies of the Educator's Guides, that's the standards, you're going to email rdemarco@pride-enterprises.org. And when you email her, there are different ordering options. You can order birth to kindergarten, but really your focus for VPK would be the 4-year-olds to kindergarten standards. So you can purchase just the standards, or you can decide to purchase it with a binder. And if you decide to purchase it with a binder, that's your last option that you can choose, and that's $21.95 plus shipping and handling. So earlier during the presentation, we shared with you what a sample calendar looks like that you can include in your staff development binder. That calendar was for the month of June. For the month of July, we do have some great pre-K and VPK webinars that you can take advantage of. I myself am facilitating one with my co-manager next Thursday on encouraging big ideas, having fun with STEM play. So I think it's going to be really interesting. It would be great if your VPK staff could attend that training. There's also several other trainings that would be beneficial to attend. There's a creating a caring community in the preschool classroom. There's look and listen, conducting intentional observations in the classroom. Here's another VPK one, spaces and places, learn about social studies in VPK. There's leadership and early programs to talk about the leadership component of being in a center. There's a training conducted in Spanish, learn and discover science for preschoolers. And another VPK training, using our imaginations, creating creative expression in VPK. And really, all of the VPK trainings are centered around the standards. That's how they were developed. So there's a standards component in each of those trainings. So all of the trainings are going to appear on the ELC website on the calendar once again. So if you go on the calendar, you'll be able to see the VPK trainings that we have for the month of July, or any additional training that we have in general at the ELC. So we are going to have a VPK improvement plan, explore the target areas webinar. We're going to really delve deeper into the target areas on the improvement plan. We're going to talk about lesson planning as well during that webinar. So that is going to take place Thursday, August 20th from 1 to 2:30. So we've provided the link here for you to register. We haven't advertised this yet, obviously, because our main focus is for our providers on probation to attend this webinar, because this really is going to be beneficial to you as providers on probation. So here's the link. If you have any questions at all about the webinar, please feel free to email me. And my email address, I know a lot of you do have my email address already because I've spoken to so many providers on probation, but I will have my contact information available to you at the end of the presentation. So OEL Virtual Study Buddies. So last month in June, the OEL VPK regional facilitators decided to have virtual study buddy sessions where they discuss each of those 6 courses on the staff development plan that providers who choose staff development need to take. So they developed these study buddy sessions around each of those 6 courses. And during each of those courses, they talk about the course. So for example, if it's phonological awareness, they're talking about phonological awareness activities. They're, discussing that online course and different components, but they're also giving helpful tips and strategies to pass the assessment, because after each of those courses, there is an assessment that attendees are required to take. So they're really giving you those helpful tips and strategies in order to be able to pass the assessment. So they have posted their study buddy sessions calendar for the month of July, and there's a lot of different dates available. You're going to register on Eventbrite, and these sessions will take place on Zoom. So I will be sending this calendar out to you in an email within the next few days, so that you're gonna, if you choose to do so, you can take advantage of attending any one of these sessions that you would find beneficial for you and your staff to attend. So as you can see, they're on each of these study buddy sessions are for each of those courses that I mentioned, each of those 6 courses that are on the staff development plan. And even if you don't choose staff development plan, if your VPK teachers haven't taken these courses, it's a great idea for them to take these courses as well, because they have a lot of beneficial information in regards to VPK. So now we've reached the questions and answers portion of our informational session. That way, if any of you have any questions that you'd like to get answered, please feel free to type in any questions in the questions box, and Deborah will read them out so that we can get those answers to you. Deborah, do we have any questions that you want to start off with?
Yes, we have a lot of questions. One of the things that a few providers just brought up is if you can please put the link into the chat box, and that link was the one for providers on probation. It was towards the end of the webinar, right before the study buddies section. So access to that.
So which link?
All right, so let's go back another slide.
This one.
Yes.
Okay.
Or the link that would be.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I know there's some questions coming in right now. I'm going to hold off on those so far and just go through the questions that were asked throughout the webinar. So something that came up multiple times was at the very beginning, just some clarification on it. Providers do want to know that it is that they will be on the probation plan for a total of 2 years at the moment.
Yeah, so what happens now is due to COVID, sorry, just putting that in. Okay, so now the link to register for that improvement plan, exploring the VPK target areas, is in the chat box, in the questions box for all of you to copy. So yes, since we had COVID-19, there's not going to be a new readiness rate for the following year. So they will have the same readiness rate for the next 2 years. So that means that you will have the same plan for not only this year, but for next year as well. What that means for you is that you're going to still be implementing this plan. If you choose to do so, you can always, if you decide you want to explore a different target area, you would just let us know, and then we can change that target area and you can implement that particular target area. Or you can just remain on that plan and continue to give us updates as to how you're progressing with those target areas that you've selected.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, another question that came up a few times, is there a program that will help providers purchase a new curriculum?
There isn't a program in particular that will help you purchase a new curriculum. The only thing I can tell you is to go on to, we did provide the list of all of the curriculums. I would say look at each curriculum, look at what each curriculum is offering, see what benefits there are to implementing that curriculum. Look in each one. You can even ask if they can send you samples and see if that curriculum is going to best meet the needs of your center. The only way to really do that is to just look at each curriculum and see what those benefits are to that curriculum, what material is going to be included in that curriculum to really, support your children in really exploring all the materials with that curriculum and making sure that it's able to be linked to those standards.
Okay, thank you. Another question that was asked is, how do we contact our VPK regional facilitators?
So your VPK regional facilitator is Wanda Garcia. What I will do is give you, when I send out the information about the VPK study buddies, I'll also send her email address to you as well, so that you can contact her about any VPK related questions that you would like to ask. In regards to any VPK regional facilitator generated trainings or any study sessions that they might hold.
Okay, another question that was asked is the VPK initiative that we had, it wasn't able to finish because of COVID-19. Is there something else that will continue?
So right now we are exploring different options. Obviously, unfortunately, due to COVID, we did not get to finish the initiative, much to our disappointment, because myself and the VPK team, we, really, enjoyed being able to support our VPK providers on probation. This was the first year that the ELC was able to really, do that. We really wanted to be able to offer support to our providers on probation. We felt the need to do so, and unfortunately, we were not able to continue due to COVID. We wouldn't be able to have the same model as last year, because the last fiscal year, there were 30-something providers, and it was all voluntary. So the providers chose whether or not they wanted to participate in the initiative. We had some providers, obviously, they chose to, and some providers declined. So it was really up to the providers. This year, there's 166 providers on probation. So obviously, the number, tripled. But we do want to support, our providers on probation. So right now, we're just exploring different ways that we would be able to do so. But we will be providing you with some support, but we just don't know exactly what that will entail as of yet. But we will keep you posted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There is another question that says, where are we listing which children are English second language or non-English language learners, and how's that affecting our scores?
In terms of the improvement plan, there's nowhere that you're listing that here. I don't know if you would reach out to your provider relations specialist with that, but I don't know that there's anywhere to list that. in terms of even on your application. So really this, the purpose of this informational session was just to discuss how we can best support you in your VPK improvement plan development process. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that. I can look into it for you though.
Okay. I believe that you went over this during the training, but just I guess for some clarification, what documentation do we have to provide to show proof of purchase for the curriculum?
So for proof of purchase of the curriculum, you are going to need to have an invoice. That invoice does not get uploaded anywhere into your plan. That you would send to your provider relations specialist. Once you contact your provider relations specialist regarding your invoice, they will tell you where that invoice needs to be uploaded.
I also have another question for curriculum training. Are those recommended by the vendor, or are they from DCF website for the new curriculum purchase?
So each publisher has a contract with OEL, and based on that contract, it has what trainings are going to be required for that curriculum. So it's not the DCF website, it's from OEL and that publisher. So each publisher has required trainings that are going to be needed in order to be able to implement that curriculum. So it's specific to each curriculum as per OEL.
Okay, and this is actually another curriculum question. We purchased creative curriculum from Teaching Strategies. So do we need the curriculum training recommended by the Teaching Strategies, or are there particular training we have to do for new curriculum purchase?
So with Teaching Strategies, and this is the only one that I can answer personally because I've spoken to the the Teaching Strategies rep, but for creative curriculum, there are 30 hours of training that you are required to take. I can give you that information if you email me specifically. I can let you know those 3 courses that you will need to take. But 2 revolve around curriculum itself, and then one is an introduction. One is the objectives for development and learning, and the other 2 are related to the creative curriculum itself. So it'll be 30 hours of training. They're each 10 hours.
Okay, we are now just preparing our improvement plan, and some staff have to complete trainings. Can we list those dates that the training will take place?
So keep in mind that if you've chosen staff development plan as your target area 1, those first 4 courses have to be taken before your plan can be approved. So keep in mind that your plan needs to be approved by July 10th. So if you've chosen staff development, those courses need to be taken really before July 10th so that you can submit your plan. The other 2 courses, you have up until 50% of your program has been completed. So you don't even have to worry about those until your program starts. Those other 4 need to be completed before your plan can be approved, which is really, your deadline is approaching next Friday. It has to be approved. Well, it has to be submitted. Rather, sorry, I said approved. Your plan has to be submitted by July 10th. So just keep that in mind. Just please ensure that if you did choose staff development plan, that those teachers have taken those courses so that you're able to submit your plan by July 10th.
Another question is, can you please talk more about the good cause exemption?
So basically, any provider that has been on an improvement plan for 3 years or more is required to complete a good cause exemption. So basically, during that application, you are going to list all of the different things that you have been working on. So they have specific questions, and you will just answer those questions to the best of your ability. That's why it's a great idea to keep evidence of all of the different things that you've done in your centers related to those target areas in that binder. So you can refer to all of those different activities. You have the different things that you've done. You have the dates that those activities have been completed, and you can include all of that in your good cause application. Once that's been submitted, OEL reviews it. In terms of the timeline, I don't know how long it takes OEL to actually review it. Once it has been approved, you get notified, as well as our CEO. Our CEO gets notified and then lets us know that your good cause exemption has been approved, and then we would be ready then to approve your plan and for you to receive your VPK contract. But that can't happen until the good cause exemption has been approved from OEL.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to skim through some of the new questions that are coming in as well. Okay, if you have submitted, and I believe that you just spoke about this, you submitted the improvement plan, but you know that you did it wrong. Are we able to go back in and make the changes now?
Okay, so yes, you can go back in and make those changes. So if your plan has been disapproved, what you'll need to do is, unfortunately, the system does not allow you to make changes once you've selected your target area. So what you can do is delete your target area. So for example, let's just say your plan has been disapproved because you didn't include a detailed description for an activity that you chose for family involvement. So then you're going to delete that family involvement target area. You're going to add it again. Then you're going to click on that target area, for example, family involvement. Then you would go in, put that projected completion date again, choose your activity from the drop-down menu, write a detailed description of how that activity is going to be implemented, and then click Save. And then that's how you would be able to update and add those descriptions of those activities. If you have any questions at all during that process, please feel free to email me and I can walk you through it if needed, or any one of the VPK team can as well. But just a reminder, you can delete that target area and add it again, and you'll be able to make any of those changes that you need to make in terms of adding those descriptions. And just please remember to be specific. Describe exactly how that activity is going to be implemented.
Okay. Since we now have the same score, will this count as a second year on probation?
I'm not sure how that's going to work yet. We haven't heard anything from OEL as of yet. So I don't want to give you, an answer. I can just tell you that you won't receive a new readiness rating.
Okay, and yeah, there was a similar question if this counts as year one of probation.
This counts as year one. So any provider that's on an improvement plan for the first year, this is going to count as your year one. The 2019-2020 year, that's the year that we're unsure about. We know that you're not going to get a rate, but I don't know what that's going to look like for you. Remember that it's always a year back. So the 2018-2019 readiness rate score, that was looking at your VPK children from the previous year. You're not going to get a rate for your children that entered kindergarten the 2019-2020 year. So this current year, this year that just passed, rather.
I'm not sure about this question, but it says if you are on probation and you choose the staff development plan, who do you observe if your VPK class is not present? So
if you've chosen staff development plan and you're saying your VPK staff aren't your VPK, what was that, children, Deborah, or staff?
Your VPK class is not present. not sure if this person has done away with their VPK classroom, because this was only be for VPK providers.
Yes, this is only for VPK providers. If you don't have a VPK class, obviously there's no one that you can observe. If you no longer are offering VPK, that's something to let your provider relations team know immediately, because obviously you're not going to be on an improvement plan if you no longer offer VPK. So that's something to inform your provider relations specialist about.
Okay, someone also said, after your improvement plan is approved, what's next?
So that's a good question, thank you. After your improvement plan has been approved, what do you do next? So basically, it's going to depend on what target areas you've chosen. Obviously, you know, we're in the midst of COVID-19. When your children come back to school, you know, a lot of these children haven't been in school all summer. You know, they've had to adjust to all of these new things happening around them. So you're going to take time to help acclimate those students back into the classroom and really get acclimated yourselves, you know, because it's a big transition after everything that's been happening. You're going to take a little time to help your students adjust. Then you're going to start implementing your plan. So if you, for example, if you've chosen staff development plan, you're going to, you know, start conducting those observations, you know, on your VPK, you know, teachers, that twice a month. The first time in the month, you're looking at the language and vocabulary. The second time in the month, you're looking at that phonological awareness. And then having that meeting monthly to just talk about what you observed. If you've chosen, you know, family involvement, if you've chosen giving families opportunities to be involved in the program, you're going to look and see what you wrote. How are you going to involve those families? You know, keeping in mind that we are in the midst of COVID-19. Having things like the Remind app are great because you can involve families, you know, that way through apps, through phone calls, through emails, thinking about how you're going to involve those families. So it really depends on what target area you chose and how you're going to implement it. But just make sure that whatever it is that you decide to do for your target areas or whatever activities that you've selected to implement, that you are keeping a record of it. You do have evidence of it. You're keeping it in that binder because that's really going to be beneficial to you. So you can see not only what you're currently doing, you know, with your families or in your practice, but, you know, what areas that you notice that you really do want to improve upon as well. And that binder is going to really, you know, help you keep evidence of all of that.
Someone is having problems with submitting their improvement plan because it's not allowing them to change the contact information. And I believe that was Marisol. I think that's possibly the OEL email address.
Yes, I am actually going to.
That seems like it might be more of an IT problem.
So, right here we have, if you are experiencing technical issues, you can contact VPK questions at oel.myflorida.com. Unfortunately, we can't troubleshoot technical issues. We don't have that capability because the only thing we can do is literally review your plans and enter in information. We can't fix anything related to any technical issue that may arise. That would be a question for VPK questions.
Okay, and I just put that in the question box as well, or the chat box.
But if you find that they haven't responded to you and you've reached out to them, please do let me know, and I'll try to reach out to them as well.
So if you're on VPK probation and you choose the staff development plan, who do you currently observe if you're not conducting summer VPK? Are those observations only conducted during the 540-hour school term?
So if you're a provider with VPK improvement plans, being a provider on probation, you can either be a provider on probation for summer, you can be a provider on probation for school year, or you can be a provider on probation for both. But if you're a provider on probation for both, you would have two completely separate improvement plans. There would be one for summer and there would be one for school year. If you're a provider on probation for summer, that means you would be observing during the summer. If you're a provider on probation for school year, that means you would be observing students for school year. If you choose not to have summer VPK and you choose staff development plan, once you choose not to offer VPK for the summer, you need to let your VPK provider probation your VPK provider relations specialist know. You also need to let me know as well, because what I will do is put in the comment section that as a provider, due to, let's just say, COVID-19, if that's the reason you've chosen not to have summer VPK, we will not be offering summer VPK. Your plan will be rejected and it will stay that way due to not offering VPK in the summer. For, let's just say, the reason being COVID-19.
So if we are on probation, do we have to purchase the curriculum during the second year, since everyone is now on probation for 2 years?
So basically, you do not purchase a new curriculum if your curriculum is still on the approved DOE, developmentally appropriate curriculum list. So as long as your curriculum's current, you have the current version, current year, you don't have to purchase a new curriculum. And in terms of, let's just say you chose staff development plan, you would just need to update the staff on the plan. Let's just say you have new staff, you would put those new staff, you would put any new staff members in. If you have staff that are no longer there, you would uncheck that active to kind of deactivate them.
Okay, can you remind us of the 4 courses that have to be taken?
So those 4 courses, and I'll go back to that, that would be the standards course. So that would be, right now, it's 3 years old to kindergarten that's being offered, but it could be the 4-year-old standards course that you've taken previously. That's the first one. It's going to be emergent literacy for VPK teachers. It's going to be language and vocabulary in the VPK classroom. And it's also going to be how to administer the VPK assessment. And I'm just going to go back so that you have that you'll be able to see it. And just so you know, you do have in the handout section that information as well. Actually, I think I have it here. Okay, yes. Okay, so you can see it right here, the first 4, the standards. It'll say standards for 4 years old here, but right now, the standards for 3 years old to kindergarten is being offered. That is fine. Either version is fine. How to administer the Florida VPK assessment, emergent literacy for VPK instructors, and language and vocabulary in the VPK classroom. Those are the first 4. The other 2 are integrating the standards, phonological awareness, and VPK assessment instructional implications.
Since we're carrying over the scores next year, providers that are on their first probation period and happen to fail again, does it mean they have now 3 strikes against them?
There's not going to be a readiness rate for next year, so you don't have to worry about next year. I don't know what will come down from OEL as of yet, but I can just tell you that you will not have to worry about the 2019 to 2020 program year because there will not be a readiness rate attributed to that year.
And you just actually went over this, our plan has not been disapproved yet. Are we still able to make changes? So this is when you mentioned that they would have to go in and delete their plan if they want to make those changes. Is that correct?
Well, delete that target area.
Yes,
So,
the target area.
Yes, if you want to make a specific change, well, that's if you've selected your target area and realized that you didn't include a detailed description, yes, please go in, delete that specific target area. Don't delete both target areas, just delete that specific target area. Like for example, family involvement, go in and then put in that new projected completion date, that new activity, and then in detail describe how that activity is going to be implemented. And just please be specific as possible, because that way you know that if you're specific, then most likely that plan will be approved because you've given a detailed description of how that activity is going to be implemented.
Can you please explain the virtual study buddies?
Yes. So with the virtual study buddies, and I haven't attended a session yet myself, so I'm actually going to ask someone that has attended to offer a little bit more insight in a second. But what happens is one of the VPK regional facilitators will lead the study buddy session and really review the content from whatever course it is that you sign up for. So there's 6 different course options to sign up for, all based on those 6 courses that I had mentioned previously on the staff development plan. And they'll review that content, answer any questions that you have, and really pay close attention to those assessments that you're going to have to take at the end of each of those sessions. Ladies, any one of you want to add anything that has attended one of the study buddy sessions?
I can talk a little bit about them. Just first, for a clarification for myself, if you've already submitted the plan, you can still make changes, or does it need to come back rejected to make changes?
So if you've already submitted the plan and you want to make changes, I would say contact me and let me know, and then I will reject your plan so you can go ahead and make those changes. I was on the site this morning looking at plans, so I don't believe there's any that haven't been disapproved or hasn't been approved yet that needs to change. But if you'd like to make a change and it hasn't been submitted yet, if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I can assist you with that.
Okay, thank you. So I did attend, hi everyone, it's Stephanie again. I did attend the study buddy sessions, the emergent literacy, as well as the phonological awareness one. So those are the 2 that I can talk about, because all of the different OEL facilitators have chosen one topic to talk about throughout the continuation of the study buddy session. It's a really great review of the course itself. So if you've taken the course already, it's a great review just to remember what's on the course. And it's also a great review if you're getting ready for the assessment. But not only that, but they also talk about practical ways to bring in ideas and instruction into the classroom. So it's very beneficial to your teachers, not only for the test, but for their practices moving forward. I even learned a little something myself, some new information. So I know that anybody who goes to the study buddy sessions, and you'll learn something new at them. So I did have a very positive experience.
Okay. So thank you, Stephanie. So as you can see, there are those 6 options that you can choose from. Stephanie attended the emergent literacy and phonological awareness, but there are 4 other options for you to attend as well. I will be sending out information on those study buddy sessions, as I mentioned earlier, in addition to Wanda Garcia, who is our regional facilitator, her contact information, so that if you have any questions, you can contact her.
When do we start conducting staff observations?
That is really going to be up to you. Like I mentioned earlier, you are going to want to give your children time to get acclimated into that environment. So I would say, kind of feel it out, look and see how your children are adjusting. And then if they seem like they're okay and they're ready, then you can let those teachers know that you are going to be conducting those observations, and then you can start observing those teachers.
Okay, when will the recorded session of this webinar be available? I know a lot of people asked if they could receive the PowerPoint, but we usually do post the webinar on our website.
I'm not sure as to when this recording will be available. So unfortunately, I can't give you that answer. But just know that we will be making it available to you on our website.
Okay, if you choose to close your VPK program for the year 2020 to 2021 and reopen for 2021 to 2022, will you be on probation again?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. If you email me that question, I will email OEL and ask them for you and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. To which email can I send any particular questions on the 30 hours training for creative curriculum from TSG?
So here is all of our contact information. If you have questions pertaining to, you just mentioned those 30 hours, you can email me at tbernard@elcbroward.org. If you have any questions regarding your improvement plan, if you find that you're having difficulty with entering something in, or making those updates that we just discussed, you can email me as well. We also have the contact information for our other VPK coaching specialist here as well. We have Anna Avalos Atkinson, Deborah Cruz, who is our questions moderator. We have Gretel Arroyo and Stephanie Templin, and we have Natasha Maurice, who is our newest VPK coaching specialist that has joined our team.
Okay, my provider improvement plan says that there's a pending task, but when I open it, it says no task pending for both target areas. But I know that I only enter the director and not the teachers.
The plan is not going to know whether you entered the teachers or assistant teachers. It's only when we review the plan that we see that those active staff are missing. So just please go in and make sure that any active staff you have related to VPK are listed. So the director's listed, so please go in and list those VPK instructors as well as any VPK assistant teachers as well. Make sure that those 4 courses first are completed and those course completion dates are entered. The other 2 courses can be added at a later time before 50% of your program has been completed. If you are the director and VPK instructor, please list yourself twice, once as the director and the other time as the VPK instructor, and make sure that you include those course completion dates in both areas for both you as the director and you as the VPK instructor.
Okay, again, where do we submit the 4 courses? The 4 VPK courses?
The 4 VPK courses, you would, when you go into your plan and when you select staff development plan, you are given the option of clicking on the little, here, I will go back to it so you can see it.
And someone also asked if you took those classes. Yes, again, you do not have to take those classes again.
No, if you've taken those classes previously, you do not have to go back and take those classes again. If you want a refresher, you can always access the course, your particular course that you've taken through the DCF website, but you will not be given additional in-service hours for retaking that course, because you're not retaking it. You're just using it as a refresher for that
Or the
content.
study buddies.
Okay, so this is where you would enter. You see here that you have the VPK active staff. You would click on. This is blocked out in blue, but these are all of the names. You would click on that particular VPK staff's name, and then you would enter, you would put in the position, the name, the DCF number, and then this is where you would enter the completion dates for those required 4 courses. And then later on, those required 2 courses. Now, if a person has taken all of the courses, you don't have to wait to enter those 2 courses. You can enter those 2 courses the same time if they've already been completed.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just reading. I know some of these have been answered already, so.
Okay. We're just going to take a few more minutes for questions because we've reached 12 o'clock and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if there are questions that we haven't answered, we do have access to the questions. So we can respond to those questions for you. And if you'd like, you can also email me as well, and I'll put my...
Yeah, we were actually able to pretty much answer all of them. Yes, you do not get in-service hours for this course today, and study buddies is not mandatory.
No, this is not a training. This is an informational session. So we are not offering in-service hours. We just wanted to provide this information to best support you as VPK providers on probation. And no, study buddies is not mandatory. It's just there to serve as a resource for you if you would like to take advantage of it.
Okay, and then the last question I do have is, under recommended staff development activities, how does another VPK program provide mentoring?
That's a good question. Obviously, things look a little different with COVID, but if you do know of a VPK program that, you know, that maybe they're not on probation, that you've noticed, you know, some great things about that program that you would like to emulate, you can ask them, you know, can you, let us know about some of the activities that you've been implementing, in those VPK classrooms? How do you involve your families? What strategies do you use to help incorporate the standards into lesson planning? So you can ask them these questions, and based on their responses, you can even pair up virtually one of their VPK teachers, and have them mentor one of your teachers that way, and just have that teacher be able to ask any questions about lesson planning or whatever he or she would like to know, and that seasoned VPK teacher can answer those questions and sort of help guide those teachers in that right direction, or even an administrator helping another administrator, mentoring them, or maybe they were a provider on probation previously but are no longer on probation, so they can give them those helpful tips and strategies that they've used to become a provider no longer on probation.
Okay, so I believe we answered all of the questions that were posted.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. We would like to thank all of you for attending our informational session. We hope that it was helpful. We hope that you learned a lot of information in regards to how you create your improvement plan, the reasons why your improvement plan might have been disapproved, and what you can do to put you on the right track to having your improvement plan be approved. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you have any questions at all about your improvement plan and getting approved, please email me at, I'll go back to that slide just so you can see my email address again. But it is BERNARD at elcbroward.org, and I would be happy to assist you. Please just keep in mind that your improvement plans have to be submitted by next Friday, which is July 10th. We hope that you were able to gain some great information. Thank you so much for joining us, and please enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you for all that you do. We know that it's not easy to be a provider on probation, especially in the midst of everything that's going on right now. But we thank you, we appreciate you, and we do really want to applaud you for all your hard work and what you're doing right now to really work on these improvement plans and help improve your practice. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.